to add to what my mom was saying about the project. Mainly that how important I think it is because it gives, we were talking about how it gives a voice to victims. And for me personally, I was sexually assaulted. I was raped when I was 14 years old by a neighbor and had never reported it. I had never talked about it. And so the map was great for me because I was able to, when I dropped a pin to report the rape, it gave me a voice that I had never had because I couldn't go to the police and report it. There was no proof. I hadn't even talked about it until I was about 20 years old. So it gave me a voice to report it. And like it did happen. And something really fascinating to me a few years ago, I was on vacation with a number of girlfriends. And it came up and I started talking about the assault, and I was with about 5 of my girlfriends, and every single one of them eventually shared that something similar had happened to them when they were younger. And as I've gotten older over the years, I've realized that so many of my girlfriends, there's so many people out there that sexual assault happens to, and they just don't talk about it and they don't report it. And I think that they believe that they can't report it, or it's not a big enough assault to report, or it's not important enough. And so what I think the app is so amazing for is really giving a voice to it, to all these victims that otherwise wouldn't report. And there's something really liberating about dropping the pin and giving yourself a voice, and that it is important. And also what I think as the app grows, as the map grows, what's going to be so important is that it'll show an area that has a lot of pins. It will show where there's been a lot of assault, college campuses, frat houses. If there's a lot of assaults that happen in a certain frat house, it won't show exactly who these assaults were from because it's all anonymous, but it'll show areas where someone can pick up their phone in the city, say, and look in a neighborhood and say, are there a lot of pins here? They can check before they go if there's a lot of pins in that area. And not that they should avoid the area, but it just shows them to be where they should be safer, and just gives them...
Well, wait a second. If there's a spot on the map that looks like a porcupine, I'm not going. I mean, that's kind of a warning, you know?
Well, the thing is I think there will be pins everywhere. Yeah. And it makes you, I think, more aware. And the thing that we didn't discuss is that there's on the app, on the map, there's different correlating pin colors for different kind of assaults. So there's one for rape. There's a different color for domestic assault. There's a different color for if you were drugged in a bar, perhaps. So it'll just show, I think, if you're in that neighborhood and it shows that someone was drugged in this bar, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad bar that you're not going to go to. But if there's a number of pins there, I think it just makes you more aware.
But where's the potential if somebody does that? And see, I secretly think realtors control the world. What happens when pins show up in a neighborhood and it impacts property values? Potentially.
I mean, I think that it's something that's going to happen, but I think that that's important. I mean, the way you can go on your phone and look up where there's
the sexual predator registry, and so it has where those people work, where they live, and that apparently is not so up to date these days.
It doesn't look like it changes much anymore, and I don't think it's been cured or stopped.
No, I don't think it's been cured.
You know,
but what we did do with the pins was we made it so that after 15 years, the pin would change color and it would be a historical event. But is it going to change? I think any. Okay, so here's an analogy. So you have a kid, your son wants to go to, say, Boston University. Better yet, your daughter wants to go to Boston University. There's pins everywhere, and there's going to be.
Right.
Is that going to stop you? Is that going to stop your daughter? If she's determined and she says, I love this school, I have to go. No, she's still going to go.
Right.
But she's going to go with more knowledge. And being a woman and living in this female form, and Lana and I talk about this all the time, and we all do, all of our girlfriends. When you're a woman, you're constantly scanning. And maybe you don't have this realization being a man, but you scan all the time. Every time you're in a room, you're scanning. You're when you're driving, you're checking out the neighborhood. It's a heightened sense of your own safety. And it's not paranoia. It's not being hyper over vigilant. It's just what we do. And so what the pins will allow is more information, and knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we all have, the more knowledge that a campus has as to what goes on their campus at, like Lana said, at a dorm, the more they can send out maybe emails and say, hey, is everybody safe? What's going on? They send resources. The same with different neighborhoods. If there's something going on and there's hot spots in neighborhoods, well, the police might be able to look at this and say, maybe we should get out there and see talk to everyone in the neighborhood and see what's going on. It's all for opening up conversation.
The other thing I'd like to add is, I talked about how I had been assaulted by my neighbor. I found out years later that he had done this to a number of other girls, that he was actually going to parties of younger women, and he did this to a number of different girls. No one ever reported it. This was his thing. And had there been more pins to show just the area of where he was, there could have just been more knowledge. And I think also it's important to add, the pins don't, when you drop a pin, it's not directly on someone's house. It just shows the area.
Yeah. So that's good that you brought that up, because I have to explain that. So
it's not on, his side of the duplex. It's not that close.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But you know what? It can be pretty specific, but also that's up to the person who drops the pin and how safe they feel. If it makes them feel unsafe to put it directly near, if you were to put 1180 West Street, it wouldn't come up on the map. It does not come up on the map. So it will give you a close approximation, but it's not, addresses do not come up.
Right. The map doesn't show addresses.
But does it show it on a house, or is it just a neighborhood?
No, it's pretty close. It does get close, but it's, there aren't houses. I'm not explaining this well, I guess, but you're not able to see houses there. It's not like that. So it's keeping it kind of broad, so that to protect people.
Okay, so there's not like, I live at 1180 West Street and somebody tells me, hey, there's this pin on your house. That's not going to happen.
Well, no, it could happen.
But
it could happen.
What happens if I go, hey, what the heck? I didn't do anything.
So then you would go to the R.A.D.A.R website and contact us, and we would try and see what's going on. And
okay, so there is an avenue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So somebody can't just be vindictive or something. Okay, good.
And so we're right back around to the anonymity.
Right.
It's, I guess if somebody wanted to be mean to you, but then at that point, what difference does it make? Your name isn't being used. Their name isn't used. So it takes that malicious reporting, that false reporting, kind of out of the mix. Because if they can't put your name, what's the sense of doing it?
That's true, but nobody wants to see a pin on their house for something negative,
that's true.
Smelliest feet in Montgomery County, doesn't matter if it's true or not. You just don't want to see it. You had said something about women scanning and men being oblivious, and I think I understand what you're saying.
I didn't say oblivious.
Well, you alluded to it.
Okay, I guess I did.
You alluded to it. Well, this isn't my offended voice. This is my acknowledging voice. I have no problem with that. But I don't think I think women need to, but I don't think they do as much as you might think, and I don't think anybody do. I see the number of people that I see that are distracted by their phones and dropping their personal security now, and I'm always seeing examples that just annoy me more and more. Today I saw a guy who was out on the road and they were doing work on the road, and he had on a safety vest and was directing traffic, and he's standing out in the road looking at his phone and thinking that his vest will protect him, and the fact that the drivers aren't on their phones and will just accidentally clip him. And I think that we're a little more trusting, and I'm trying now to speak as a young woman, which I shouldn't. But I think we're a little more trusting because I think that social media gives the illusion by using the terms like friends and stuff like that. We know somebody because we know of their actions on this page. Yeah. And we used to actually have to tangibly know somebody. Yeah. And, you used to go through your whole life and have 12 friends. Now people go, I've got 800 friends. No, it's not like that. And I think that the more we expose ourselves to these people, the more we expose ourselves statistically to bad people who are getting in the mix, and we're not vetting them properly. And I think that's a part of it. And I'm not defending it. I'm not legitimizing it. I'm not trying to blame somebody. I think we need to vet people better and not think everybody's our friend just because they haven't done anything horrible to us yet,
Well, that's true. But if you go back to that statistic, that
1 in 4?
1 in 4. I mean, that's pretty huge. And so if you're a girl, I mean, I was victimized when I was little. So I learned at a really young age. I was conditioned. I was conditioned from middle school on to constantly being aware of my surroundings. And I think that it happens so often to women and to young women that it's just built into us.
I know somebody who was victimized, and they mentioned it to me, and I got outraged and wanted to do all the things that a guy wants to do, and she kind of downplayed it, and it was calm down, don't do anything, let it go, I don't want any trouble, blah blah blah. And it was just and it's like you're talking about that conditioning or whatever.
Yeah, but I think that there was a good article that I read the other night, and I posted it on the R.A.D.A.R website, and it talked about, I think I posted it, and if I didn't, I'm going to. It talked about outing yourself after you've been assaulted. And more often than not, and the people that I worked with, they minimize it. They minimize what has happened to them. And I think that it takes a long time. Perfect example. Monica Lewinsky. That girl, that woman, she's a woman now. She's still downplaying it. Yes, she talks about it, but it's I saw something that she had written or spoke about, and there's still this minimizing of what happened to her. And, she was pretty young. And I'm sure that she had a lot of PTSD that she had to work through because of it. But my point is that that's what people, as Lana just said, that's what